am the Executive Director of Cleveland Votes, and I am here today to provide you a temperature check on democracy in Ohio. So let's start with the cold front, first and foremost being housing. There's no question that we have an affordable housing crisis here in America, and definitely here in the state of Ohio, and locally here in the city of Cleveland. When we think about who belongs into safe and affordable housing, we really have to be thoughtful about the policies, the practices, and the way that we're developing housing for the future. And we also know that people are being displaced, like our friends over at the Euclid Beach particular area where we know that new development wants to come in, but that will essentially wipe out the individuals that are there. Environmental justice. There's no question that the city of Cleveland has been harmed by environmental hazards, particularly in our Black and brown parts of the community. We know that we have a high population of children that have been lead poisoned. We know that we have issues with healthy water, access to green space. Last but certainly not least, let's talk about immigration issues. We actually have a huge influx of immigrants and refugees coming to Cleveland. And we want to, as a community, ensure that we're creating conditions that allow us to be welcoming and receive individuals that maybe are not native to the States or native to Ohio, but feel like they can integrate into our community in a way that allows them to grow and flourish just like other Clevelanders want to do. Now let's move on to some of the really hot topics that we are facing here in the city of Cleveland and the state of Ohio. Gotta start with voting rights, right? There is no question that on a daily basis, it feels like almost by the minute, the right to access the ballot in a fair and equitable way is being challenged. What we're contending with is the passage of HB 458, which was signed into law by the governor at the beginning of 2023. What does this do? In short, it will change the way that people are able to provide identification when they are either going to their polling location, to the Board of Election, or casting their ballot absentee. But one most notably that a lot of people previously used was a utility bill. That is now an unacceptable form of ID. Just a couple weeks ago, we saw the passage of SJR2, which is Senate Joint Resolution, which is really trying to reduce citizens of Ohio's ability to put forth citizen-led initiatives. Since 1912, the passage rate for statewide ballot initiative has been 50% plus one. Now, the legislators want to increase that threshold to be 60%. We are now advocating for people to vote no for the special election, which will take place on August 8th of 2023. We really need to raise the awareness and make sure that people know that this is going to be a special election this summer, and we want them to vote no on this particular issue.
Now, a special announcement from our partners.
My name is Kayla Griffin. The job that pays me is All Voting is Local State Director for Ohio. And then I'm also the president for the Cleveland branch of the NAACP.
My name is Elia Burgos. I'm the Community Outreach Coordinator of the Board of Elections. My specialty is the Latino voter outreach because I'm bilingual. I've been doing that for 5 years.
Hi, my name is Leah D. Hudnon. I'm Assistant Professor of Practice at Cleveland State University at the School of Urban Affairs. I also own a nonprofit and philanthropic consulting firm called The Legacy Perspective. I'm a podcaster, creative, mom, and civic servant.
I'm Mordecai Cargill, the co-founder and chief creative officer for Third Space Action Lab and the co-owner of Third Space Reading Wing.
I'm Genesis Gonzalez. I'm part of the Young Latino Network, and I am the program coordinator.
Hi, I'm Tessa Schwan. I am the statewide co-director of OPAL, Building AAPI Feminist Leadership.
I'm Alina Starks, and I am the Ohio Political Director for the Working Families Party.
Hi, I'm Deidre McPherson. I'm Chief Community Officer at Assembly for the Arts.
Equitable civic engagement can look a lot of different ways, but it needs to start with we the people, and it needs to be for the people and by the people.
It's, access to the ballot in different languages.
Equitable civic engagement.
Equitable civic engagement
It's about inspiration and power building.
is having an arts and cultural ecosystem that really reflects the diversity of our region.
Is the intentional practice of building and cultivating all parties that participate electorally.
Inclusion comes from the premise that there is like a bigger race or a bigger group and they are letting us in. Equitable civic engagement for me is we are all at the table on the same ground, on the same footing.
If I had a magic genie and I had 3 wishes to improve democracy.
A genie that showed up in Cleveland, Ohio, that gave me 3 wishes.
I had thought about this like a bunch of times.
Reparations.
Healthcare access for all, and that includes access to abortion, because abortion is healthcare.
I would have fair and equitable maps.
For everyone to be a city council member for a day.
My first major wish would be that in Ohio, elections would become holidays.
Election day become a holiday.
I want a Black Women and Girls Fund.
Wish I will ask is for people to be more engaged in voting and be more interested in participating.
To improve civic engagement in Ohio, we actually have to value every Ohioan. In all pieces and corners of this state, we have some similar issues. They have different faces, they may have different names, but at the core of them, this state is in a crisis.
People who are in power want to remain in power, and instead of taking the wins and the losses, they just change the rules.
A lot of things aren't translated in a way in which our community understands, not only like language-wise, but like word-wise.
We shouldn't be trying to legislate what women's decisions about their own reproductive health should be like.
I think getting people to believe that they have the power to create change. There's so many forces that convince people that their vote doesn't matter, their voice doesn't matter, and any energy that they would put or focus on an issue would be for naught.
I'm always very encouraged and feel rewarded when people have that eureka moment.
Able to see the light or the spark in a child's eye when they understand that actually writing that letter to a politician or actually making your voice heard is good energy to spend on something that they deeply care about.
Just light up whenever you tell them like we're here with you, and like we'll talk through the whole process of like voting, and we'll sit here and tell you your rights.
Your average voter is someone that is just sitting at home on their porch, not expecting you to knock on their door or give them a phone call, who end up, when I leave, they feel better about politics.
When you are talking to somebody in the community and you help them understand just how much power they have, and they're able to engage in the democratic space in an equitable way.
Right, it's not just about like engaging the community whenever there's an election, but also like engaging them outside of elections. And just the smile on their faces whenever you tell them these are your voter rights is spectacular.
I think people should start to follow trustworthy organizations that can bring an accurate information regarding elections.
Asking the next question. So not just what do you want, or not just like, do you support this issue or do you support this candidate or something like that. More about, once you get past that initial response, I think it's important to probe further.
We have an election coming up in August, so we need to educate people that there is an election, because that's not common in our state. And the last time we had an August election statewide, there was only 8% of the state who showed up to vote. So what we can improve on is just making sure, like steps right now, we can make sure that people know that there's an August election and they know how to vote in that election.
I would say go out and volunteer. There's different organizations doing civic engagement work, and they're in need of translators, they're in need of extra hands to go out and get information to people, especially with these new law changes. That information is very much needed in our communities.